Welcome to the Great Canadian Wine Match, Red, White, and True North Food. I'm joined today by four very passionate Canadian wine lovers from coast to coast. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and share with us one of their first experiences that really turned them on to Canadian wine and food. And then we're going to chat a little bit more about what this Battle of the Bottles is all about. So Valerie, let's start with you.
Awesome. Well, hi everybody. My name is Valerie Stride, and I live in Vancouver, BC right now, and I love wine. People in Vancouver actually know me as the Demystified Vine, and that's the name of my blog as well, demystifiedvine.com. And one of the most memorable BC food and wine pairings that I have was when I was taking some wine courses, and our instructor actually paired a Mission Hill Perpetua Chardonnay with simple buttered and salted popcorn, and it was the most amazing pairing ever. And every time I talk to people, I'm like, you have to try an oaked Chardonnay with buttered popcorn because it's just phenomenal.
Wow.
So that was mine.
That's great. Awesome. How about you, Andrew?
I'm Andrew Bernardo. I run OttawaWineJournal.com from Ottawa, Ontario. Twitter handle @OTTWineJournal. Really, for me, wine and food's always been around the house, even when I was a young lad. And for me, I think, the quintessential moment where I realized that I was really into wine and food pairings was when I was at Geo in Halifax, a restaurant that Adam would be very familiar with. And the sommelier brought out the seared duck breast, very rare, and paired it with a simple Konzelmann Pinot Noir, the one you can get for $11.95 at the LCBO. And when he brought it out, it was a little weird because I was expecting something a little bit more lavish. I was spending a lot of money for that dinner, and I let him pour it, and sure enough, it was, every part of it just matched perfectly. So to me, it really made me realize that wine and food, the pairings don't need to be necessarily expensive. You can really get something special for not a lot of money out of your pocket. So I'm going to hand it over to Karina, who's in Quebec, La Belle Province.
Truly, I'm a Canadian gal from coast to coast. Originally from Vancouver, currently living in Quebec. I have been drinking Canadian wine from coast to coast. I am at foodgypsy.ca, exploring the great big world of gastronomy and the occasional bottle of wine. I guess my first experience with Canadian wine was literally Baby Duck. Andre's Baby Duck. As a kid, we drank it at all of the family functions, and from then, my uncle Reinhold, my great uncle Reinhold, worked at Kelowna Wines in Kelowna. And I had my first vineyard tour of Kelowna Wines at about 7 years old. It was a long time after that before I came back to Canadian wines, and my reintroduction was a tremendous bottle of Quail's Gate Chardonnay. And that brought me back to Canadian wines. It brought me into a journey of food and wine that I'm still continuing, and that I continue to explore on Food Gypsy. And from there, I've gone right across the country. I've lived in Nova Scotia. I've lived in Ontario. I currently live in Quebec. And I just consider it a great big exploration of what our country has to offer as far as food and wine. And so I'm going to throw it over to you. Adam, tell us all about what's going on in Halifax.
Hi, as you all know now, I'm from Nova Scotia. I live in Halifax, and for me, my Twitter is Adam_Bauer. For me, my introduction to Canadian wine was as well Baby Duck at my great-grandmother's table for Thanksgiving dinner, as most of us in Canada can say. That was what I call my gateway wine. But I later moved out to Alberta back in 2003, and that's when I really got introduced to big quality Canadian wines. I tried my first Okanagan, which was a Mission Hill Oculus 2000. Absolutely fell in love with it. I first had it when I tried game meat for the first time as well, and being in Alberta, what better place? Alberta meats and Okanagan wines are perfect together. I had a bison tenderloin with a blueberry reduction and Yukon potatoes, and it was amazing together. I had never had a Bordeaux blend before even, and that was my introduction to a Bordeaux blend as well. So I really saw what we're capable of here in Canada as far as quality wines. And I moved back 4 years later to Nova Scotia, and that's when the industry really, while I was away, had blossomed here, and it got me trying Niagara wines and Nova Scotian wines, and that's really what got me into Canadian wines.
Oh, thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Those are great pairings. It got me thirsty and hungry.
And hungry.
Exactly. So, the Great Canadian Wine Match is really what we're talking about here, a celebration of Canadian wine and food and just how well they pair together. And, I think that's kind of what we mean by the match, but we're also referring to the friendly regional rivalry that's going to be part of this competition to really shake things up. So over the next few weeks, you and everyone else can nominate and/or vote for your favorite Canadian wine and food pairings, and you don't have to be a wine expert to participate. This is truly a people's choice, bottoms-up kind of competition that we hope will kickstart a national conversation about our own wine and food. And I hope we can all think about it as one long kitchen table chat from coast to coast. So let's go around this table here, gathered today, and let's start with Andrew about, tell us about the Ontario wine that you're championing, Andrew, and why you chose it and what the pairing would be.
Sure. First of all, I'm going to be rooting for Ontario the whole way through. No offense to BC and Nova Scotia. I've been to BC quite a few times, and I lived in Nova Scotia for 6 years, which it seems to be the common thread around here. But right now, I am championing the Coyotes Run Pinot Noir from Niagara Peninsula. It's the 2010 vintage, which was absolutely incredible as a vintage in Ontario, along with 2007. So, for me, it has a lot of very lush black fruit, black cherries, black plum skin, and it has a little bit of an herbal note to it, but more like those grilled herbs, not that kind of greenish flavor that you traditionally get in leaner years, like kind of leaner, greener years. So for me, what we're going to do, actually we're going to do it tonight, is we have a butcher just around the corner. He does these wonderful flattened chickens, and they're marinated in balsamic with a little bit of rosemary and thyme. So I think that this wine is going to be absolutely amazing with the chicken, because it has enough fruit and enough that sweet kind of berry fruit from the warmer year to pair with to balance off the char of the chicken, and then that nice herbal note that I was telling you about. It almost reminds me a little bit of kind of grilled rosemary. That's going to really kind of balance off the rest of the flavors in the chicken. So that's what I'll be drinking tonight, and cheers to this fantastic initiative, Natalie.
Oh, great. And Andrew, where did you say you lived?
I'm
coming over.
What time should I come over?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I'm telling you, I'm at my parents' place in Aurora, Ontario right now, celebrating the first birthday of my niece, and this is what we're doing tonight. So
very nice.
It's beautiful. It's local chicken as well, so good stuff all around.
That's
Canadian
terrific.
through and through.
All right, here we go. Valerie, let's jump over to you. I think you have a big BC Red for us.
I definitely have a big BC Red. Basically, I'm sort of interested in all of this because I'm actually from Ontario, and I've lived in Nova Scotia too, in Halifax, and now I'm in Vancouver, so it sounds like we all have a lot in common here. But I have moved to Vancouver, and I've grown a very deep love for BC wines, and both red and white. And the wine that I chose to pair with beef is the Osoyoos La Rose Pétalas de Osoyoos. And this is the 2010 vintage. It's a Bordeaux blend. And of course, Bordeaux blend includes Merlot, Cab Sauv, Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, and Malbec. And I love this wine because it's basically a really easy drinking Bordeaux. I know some Bordeauxs tend to be very harsh, or you have to let them sit for a long time. And I think that this one is just a really great example of something you can just pop open right away and drink it. You have all those velvety tannins and the lots of mix of red and black fruit. There's just hints of coffee and vanilla sweet spice in it. And I think it would pair perfectly with a nice fresh ground beef burger on the barbecue. Who says you can't drink red wine in the summer? I think that is, you know, not a really good rule. And, you know, it would taste great if you put some aged Canadian cheddar cheese on it, slap it on the barbecue, have a glass of this Bordeaux. It would be phenomenal. And so I won't be having any barbecue burgers tonight, but I will be very soon.
Oh, excellent. So we'll all meet you there then. That's
Okay,
great,
sounds
Valerie.
good.
Love that pairing. That's great. Okay, let's go all the way across the country to Adam in Halifax. What's in your glass, Adam, and on your plate?
So I have a glass of Grand Pre Lac-Qui Blanc Reserve. It's a 2010. And Lac-Qui Blanc is great for all those of you who have lived in Nova Scotia, and I think almost everyone has here at one point. You'll be familiar with Lac-Qui Blanc. That's our signature grape varietal here. And it actually came from Ontario. It was in a lab in Ontario. It didn't do well with the warmer growing season in Ontario. And Roger Dial, one of our pioneers in the industry here, he brought this grape varietal to Nova Scotia to Grand Pre, the first vineyard to plant it. At that point, it was known as V53621, but it got the name Lac-Qui Blanc to show some recognition to the local Acadian community here. So this wine, one thing we're lucky with in Nova Scotia is, I mean, we're known for seafood. People come here to try seafood. It's fresh. You can't escape the ocean here. It's all around you. And our wines go perfect with seafood, which is a blessing. This wine has some good acidity. You get some tropical fruit notes. You have some good citrus. It's also been barrel aged for 6 months, the Reserve has. And so that gives it some good buttery vanilla notes as well. And it's just very crisp, very refreshing. I like having this with Nova Scotia Digby scallops. U10 ones, the big ones. U10 scallops mean it takes under 10 scallops to make a pound. They're the big ones. So
Can you send some our way?
yeah, exactly. I have a family in Ontario, my in-laws. I can't go there without bringing scallops. So maybe when I'm making a run, I'll bring some extra.
Oh, that's excellent, Adam. I can imagine you mentioned the buttery notes, so I was thinking, lobster with melted butter too,
Yes.
maybe.
Well, lemon and butter are the two most complimentary items to have with seafood. So, and this wine displays both those characters. Do a vanilla saffron risotto with it.
Oh,
Your Nova Scotia match made in heaven for sure.
oh my goodness. Okay. We're doing a cross-country tour after this. No more virtual stuff. So, Karina, bring us home with a sweet ending from Quebec, please.
I was just making a mental note when I visit my mother in Kentville next month to bring home some Digby scallops.
Yes.
So whether you're having a balsamic chicken, whether you're having a big beefy burger or a little bit of seafood, you always got to have a little bit of dessert. And so we're going to finish off with a Quebec ice wine. Surprisingly hard to find a Quebec wine in Quebec. So even at the SAQ, I'm saying, SAQ, please feel free to send me samples. Vintners, please feel free to send me samples. I have a lovely Le Pailleux 2010. It has a beautiful, beautiful color and a super sexy little bottle. Dynamic, teeny tiny little cork. It has a gorgeous liquid honey color. It has a beautiful nose, floral. It has a slight apricot mango taste. This will be absolutely beautiful with, we're coming to strawberry and rhubarb season, so let's pair it with a little strawberry rhubarb crisp. Let's pair it with an apple pie. Let's pair it with a creme brulee, which would be my personal favorite. A nice way to finish off a meal. And the other thing that I love about a beautiful ice wine, which Canada does so well, we do ice wine from coast to coast, gorgeous ice wines. The other thing that I love about an ice wine is you don't necessarily have to finish a meal with it because, quite frankly, it's so sweet that you could, of course, pair it with a good charcuterie. A little bit of dried smoked duck would be gorgeous with this. Who could resist foie gras and ice wine? And of course, a beautiful blue cheese or a Stilton. A beautiful blue cheese or a Stilton, absolutely gorgeous. So you could start with this and you could finish with this.
Wow.
There you go.
That is terrific. Thank you, Corina, and thank you all for those pairings. I should just reiterate, these folks are extremely passionate, but you don't have to be in the wine industry or an expert to nominate a wine. They've really thought long and hard about their pairings, but they come from passion. So really, this is open to anyone, again, as a bottoms-up kind of competition. I myself am not going to nominate any wines, even though I have many, many favorite Canadian wines. Instead, I'm going to remain neutral so that I can moderate more of these coast-to-coast video chats as the competition goes along. So we talked about 4 food categories today mainly: chicken, seafood, beef, and dessert. There's also cheese, which some of you mentioned, and pizza is another category, but we just wanted to get in some of the main ones today. So everyone can nominate a wine in each of those 6 categories if you like. You don't have to nominate a wine in order to vote for them. You can vote daily, so be sure to come back here daily to support your favorite Canadian wines and keep them at the top of the list. And also stay tuned for the showdown phase. After the voting ends, we'll be picking 5 finalists in each of those food categories from each region. So that should be fun, and stay tuned for that. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I think this really deserves a coast-to-coast toast of cheers. So enjoy something good in your glass tonight that's from Canada. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers.
Salut.